So I'm Robin with Beyond the Veil, a psychic medium here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm excited to be bringing forward and to everybody Talking Tarot. Planning on doing it Tuesdays at 2 p.m. So I'm not going to say that really fast, too many times. So welcome to Talking Tarot. And Zach is here with me. Of course, it's his live feed. And I'm hoping that he can kind of cover a little bit about yourself, Zach, and your brand, and a little bit of your background in tarot.
Alright, cool beans. So, my given name is Zach, but I go by Teseraph. It's my magical name. And so for Teseraph, I really wanted to focus on just helping people to be empowered and be inspired to kind of create the reality that they dream of. Because there's nothing that we can't obtain in life, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to get there. And I think that tarot, for me, has always been a helpful guide to kind of help me see what different symbols and signs to look out for that are kind of like confirmations that I'm on the right path for what I want to do. So it's always been helpful for me. And so I've been sharing that with my friends and some people that I've run into in my past, and now I'm trying to do it professionally, offer it out there for stranger dangers.
That's awesome, Zach. For some reason, I'm so dyslexic, I cannot pronounce your name properly. How that side. So I'm calling you Zach. Everybody else can call you.
Teseraph, like Seraph, like Seraphim Blueprint, like
Tessera.
Teseraph.
See, I'm not gonna get it.
Like Seraphim. You gotta think of the angels.
Teseraph. I am horrible.
Close.
I am so dyslexic. So I'm excited to be on here with you, and hopefully we have a bunch of people that end up joining. If not, we're just going to keep going the way we're going. We're going to do this for about a half an hour or so, and towards the end of this, or maybe in between if we're guided to kind of pull some cards and do some readings.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so whoever's on, share it, let people know, sign on if they want to get a free reading.
Yes, share, 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 share. The more you share, the better.
All right, so where do you want to start? Do you want me to start with talking about the main structure of tarot?
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely. Because what's interesting, Zach, really quick, you have an awesome foundation, and you and I also kind of resonate with the same intuitive guidance in regards to tarot. But that foundation, just at a very, very high level, is just enough to get people where they're going. Look at it, you got a grin. What's the grin for?
I read a lot, but it's if I sit and take a quiz, it's like hard to pull all the information out. But in the moment, the right stuff, it just seems to flow through. So I just trust it,
Yep, no, and it's going to be great because that's what it's all about. So that's why I wanted to see if we could just touch on that really quick, not dive deep into it, and then we can take it from there.
Very cool. All right. So yeah, for me, the structure of tarot, it's kind of it's a very broad system. The tarot, the way that it was always taught to me, is that this deck is supposed to encompass symbols and events that correspond to any part of your life. So from birth until death, and maybe even a little bit after that, the tarot cards can kind of show you what energies are kind of guiding the events that are going on. And so for me, the major arcana, we have the let's see, starting with the Fool, it starts with 0 instead of 1, and I always really connected with that because whenever you're starting a journey or before you're even born, there's always kind of like an idea that seems to spring out of nowhere, or something that's manifested from seemingly nothing. And that nothing isn't, like, it's not actually nothing, it's actually everything that's around us. And so that number 0 is actually also a symbol that kind of says, no, it's not anything, but it actually is everything, or it's a part of everything that's, going on around the event. And so starting from the Fool and working up through the major arcana you see someone kind of growing and kind of facing all of these different trials and these great events in their life. And of course, with any kind of great story, there's a big rise and then there's a big fall. And so you start to see the fall kind of around with the, the death and the judgment. But in that same series of cards, we also have temperance. So we're learning about lessons of balance at the same time, where we have to let go of some things so that we can learn how to juggle more things and kind of find that balance within our lives. So the life that we thought we were building, no, we're not going to manifest it entirely how we first saw it. And that's because when we're first starting out, we can't really see everything that's going on or that's going to influence it. So we do have to kind of let some things die off, find a new balance with things so that we can move on and find not necessarily the entire dream that we started off with, but kind of like the perfect realization of that for the environment that we were placed into. And so we kind of see that kind of coming to a culmination with the world card at the very end. And you're like finally seeing, like, from that higher self perspective, floating high above everything with two wands in your hand, that you've got kind of like total perspective, total power, and ability to influence things in a way that is going to be productive not only for yourself, but also for the people that are in your life. And so that major arcana has always been kind of like a great story to reflect on. Anytime that I'm feeling down, it's kind of like, all right, let me just kind of figure out where I'm at in the story of the major arcana, and then I can see what steps to take to get to the next part of the sequence. Because everything in life is that cycle that's shown in the major arcana. And so, did you want to say anything about the major arcana as far as how you like to interpret it? Because I know there's a
Well,
lot of different versions of how people like to see the story.
yeah, and some people look at it from a very technical perspective. Other people look at it from strictly intuitive, and other people are kind of, like a mesh of things. The major arcana for me, it's a little bit divided. So like you were talking about the zero, that zero, I'm very binary, zeros and ones, zeros and ones. And when we're
You got
born,
that computer
we walk,
background.
huh?
You've got that computer background.
Yes. But when we're born, we still exist, yet we're not one yet. You know what I mean? So we're like stepping into life. We're walking into life, kind of blindfolded. We don't know what we're doing. We can't take care of ourselves. We're not in a position to, really support ourselves. But we still exist. We're still there. We're still something. So that zero still holds value.
Mhm.
But also those for the major arcana for me, it breaks up in 22 cards. The first 11 for me represent your physical journey. And the second 11 is your spiritual journey. But I also agree with you in how it shows your ups and downs in life. Um, you can walk across the death card all day long and think something's terrible going to happen, but you don't see the other side of it where it's rebirth. And there's a cycle. Each of these cards, there's literally a cycle to each card, no matter what phase you're in. Even if you're at the zero position, there's a cycle to it. And for those days where you feel down and where you feel lost, they're a great guide. Just taking the major arcana out by themselves and sorting through them, and pulling cards for that. I think it's a great opportunity to see something maybe you're not seeing clearly.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my take on it. I like it. It's major life events. They're really hyper focused on major life events for me. And again, it's all
Mhm.
intuitive. So I just, that's my take on the major arcana. I don't dive too deep into it. I do have a lot of technical background with it, but I don't really use it per se because I'm not guided to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've seen, like I have that technical background and stuff. Like I've read a lot of different books on it. So yes, I do technically have that kind of technical background, but it's I always find it kind of interesting because each book, it kind of shows kind of like a different world philosophy and how you can kind of um, basically tell these three different world philosophies through the same set of symbols, and everyone kind of sees different layers and aspects to it, which I think is kind of very telling of how the tarot works in itself. just because it is like a great way to kind of just mind map things and different life events that are going on. And so, like, one card, if it is like the traditional tarot card, like if you are going through a dark part and you're like, oh my goodness, my life is over, and you meditate on that death card. If you meditate on it long enough, you see there is like the sun rising between the two pillars in the background. Like, once you take in the full scene of it and fully meditate on it, like there's kind of like always an answer that you can kind of find in the card, because it's a way for your psychic or your psyche or your psychic senses to kind of show themselves to you in a very obvious way, which I need a kind of smack in the face sometimes, which the tarot does for me.
Well, sometimes it's a little challenging to do your own readings because they're a little biased in a way. I have
Sure.
found, I think it's kind of interesting when we look at it. Actually, look, right now what I'm doing is trying to send this video out to people. That's why I'm like open, my grill's open here. While I'm talking, I'm going to back off. But if
Here,
you
I'll send
look,
one
so
you back.
that so when I do my own reading, technically I don't really do a whole lot of readings for myself. I'll pull one card here and there once in a while, but again, they're biased. So what I like to do is take the intuitive side out of it, because you never, you got to separate church and state there. That way it's not as biased, and you can take the card for face value versus what you're being guided to tell yourself. And I like how you touched on that death card, because so many people look at things, they have that pessimistic way to look at things. And if you look at the card in an optimistic perspective, you'll see that it's a rebirth, it's new beginnings, it's a whole lot of fun things that are just awaiting for you to, finish with that part is the cycle of life, like a divorce or something that's literally blocking you. It's a major life event, something that's been holding you up. Now you're set free to be who you want to be or do the things you want to
Yeah.
do. I really like that death card when it comes up, to be honest with you. And it doesn't come up often, but I love it when it does.
Yeah. I do too. And I always thought, I'm like, everyone gets so freaked out. Maybe it's just because my first Reiki master, she was obsessed with skeletons. She always like, they're always smiling. Every time you look at a skeleton, they're never frowning. It's a big grin, full teeth.
Yeah.
They're ready for the change. They enjoy the change.
Oh, yes. The change is always good. It's just getting there that hurts.
Yes. Sometimes we're resistant to change, and then we're like, why? Why is all of this stuff happening? You don't feel like you're in control of anything. And it's like, no, you're not in control. You just have to learn how to relax, let go with the flow. Death is associated with, like the water sign Scorpio. So it's about being resourceful, about being in touch with your emotions, and just being kind of aware and able to go with that flow of, the tides, because it always, there's always an ebb and flow with life.
Hmm. And that's the other thing. Tarot is a very good example of that flow. Just like you're saying, life is like that roller coaster, the ups and downs. And without the downs, you don't really appreciate the ups. And I think tarot has a way to kind of lay it out in front of you, and especially if you do it intuitively, to lay it out in front of you and just show you, why you're going through this in your journey, and where you need to grow with it, whether it's spiritually or emotionally or physically.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends, like you're mature. How do I word this? I'm looking for the right words for it, but there's so much more to growth than what we're taught.
Yeah.
And tarot has a way to express that, and not only express that, but extract that from people. So they have a full understanding of, okay, now I've got a better scope of what's going on in my life. Now when I step out, how do I want to go now? What do I want to do? Because now I see things I didn't see before I walked in there and saw
Mm-hmm.
those cards. And anybody who's a professional tarot reader typically has people do readings for them. They don't do their own readings so that they don't drown in their own sadness or emotional turmoil.
True. But I find, for me, I don't know if it's because I'm, so connected to that Gemini nature, and I always can see kind of like both sides of the situation. So anytime that something's going on in my life, I like to draw cards for myself, just because it helps me to kind of, um, I don't know, take like a step back and have more of an objective view. But I understand for some people it is very hard to kind of like calm down, center themselves, and then interpret. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. For me, maybe it's because I'm a cold, two-faced Gemini. I just ask the others act, you know.
I'm able to separate
But
that as well, but I just don't recommend it for everybody.
very, yeah. You always have to kind of try it for yourself, see how it goes. If you realize that, yeah, you know, you're just feeding yourself your own BS, then you know, consult a friend.
I totally
Always
agree.
consult a friend. Yeah,
And
I was
we
just trying
got
to
somebody
separate
else.
out my major arcana. So,
Really? I was going to do that earlier too. That's funny.
oh, I didn't
Oh,
realize you
look,
were
we got
Gemini
another
back then.
Gemini.
Do you do you feel triggered by all of the posts that says that we're evil? I feel a little triggered, but at the same time, I'm like, we can be, so I understand
You're
it.
only half evil.
Yes,
I'm evil all the way around. I'm a Leo.
Leos can be good.
No, not in
Leos know
my
how to
case.
take charge without stepping on toes, but it depends on where your Mars is at, how your Leo likes to express itself.
My Mars is probably everywhere because I step on everybody's toes. I trigger people. Look, I got the Gemini card.
Ha! Very nice. Think.
Crazy evil. Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
That's so sweet. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. We're only going to be on here for a little while longer. So if you have any questions,
Yeah.
we'd love to hear them.
We'll see. We'll, you know, let us know who wants to go first, and we'll draw a major arcana for you, or draw another card, and see
You're going to
what's
make me
going on
work.
in life. Or if you have a specific question or about a situation, see where you're at in that cycle of the situation.
There's somebody on there right now that is extremely low. And I don't mean like a bad person. I just mean emotionally like low right now. I'm pulling energy and it feels like that person is just like depleted emotionally. So hopefully that person does step up.
There's been a lot of that going on lately, so this quarantine
This
has
is the card I get for
been
that
messing some
person.
people up.
Trying to fit the person that is the Hermit card. And it makes me feel like not only are they trying to find their way out their own way because they just really haven't learned how to navigate, but they've also got the Devil card with them. And that just tells me that their own demons are kind of holding them back from pressing forward.
Let's see. I did draw a card, or I had a card that fell out while I was shuffling. And it was just me and Rachel on here, and it was the Knight of Wands. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But so speaking about like the structure of tarot and stuff, the the Knight is part of the court cards, or they're collectively known as the court cards, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, each of the minor arcana, each suit, there's four of those, they all have a series of cards at the end that basically talks about kind of, how do I say this? Kind of like different positions of power that people will typically be in throughout different phases of their life. So you have like the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. And in the series, like the page is typically seen as like the student or the newcomer to that kind of professional aspect of the suit. And then the knight is the one who kind of is very much on a mission trying to discover their power within that suit. And so this again is the card that fell out earlier. This is the Knight of Wands from the Vampire's Tarot of the Eternal Night. Kind of a long title, but it was one of the first decks that I worked with, and it's always been kind of a great guide for me. And this particular card, the Suit of Wands, is all about working with your willpower and finding basically how to have that inner strength and be self-reliant, so that any journey that you're on right now, you know that you can overcome it on your own. He's kind of raising that staff up into the air, and that can also be kind of like a suggestion of kind of like acknowledging a higher power, or that this source of strength can come from a higher power, but it flows through you so that you can do whatever it is that is required of you in this moment. So just know that kind of the source, creator, whatever you want to call it, all you have to do is kind of look up and receive that energy and that strength, and you'll be able to get through whatever it is that's going on right now. So that's the card that fell out earlier, and so that's the meaning and interpretation behind that. But see, it looks like we've had a couple comments here.
I like the holistic tarot book, Zach.
That's what I was
really
going to say
do.
too. That has been my favorite out of all of the ones that I've gotten. And the cool thing about that book, that's got it's a massive book, and actually I think yes, I do have it right here. Just off camera.
I almost brought mine out.
So it is big. It is very big. There's a lot of information packed in here. It's totally worth it, and it's not very expensive. It's it was $30, and I think it may have been cheaper on Amazon. But basically, a lot of information, and the author is amazing. If I remember right, she was like a law major. She has a law degree, and she does tarot as well. And on her website, she has like a course curriculum that you can print out, and so it'll guide you through the book if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. It'll kind of take you section by section of what to focus on. It's really cool.
Yes, I love it. I have both the hard copy and the electronic copy as well.
It's probably easier to search for something in the electronic.
Yeah, it is, but All right, let's see. We got another one. I've never done a professional tarot reading. What should I expect when I get my first one? Well, one thing you should show up. I'm going to take this really quick, Zach, because I do professional readings. Let's see. What should I expect? So the first thing you would expect is somebody who's going to, I'm going to rewind. Make sure you show up with questions. You don't want to walk in there blindly and just say, what does Spirit have to say? Or what do the cards have to say? Because they can tell you to eat broccoli all day long, that you need to eat better, and that doesn't help you because you just spent money. So come prepared with questions. And if you have questions, doesn't mean you'll get all the questions answered, because sometimes 30 minutes or an hour can move really, really fast. But what you would expect is sometimes it depends on the practitioner. Sometimes you do a 30-second meditation and grounding. The room is already cleansed for you. The cards are already cleansed. And each tarot reading that I do is based off of the energy of the person walking in. So I could do a 3-card reading or a Celtic cross reading, and just different types of tarot spreads. It really depends on the person's energy, their questions, and their openness to the reading as well. I know that sounds like a lot of stuff, but it's just from start to finish, you start with a quick little closing your eyes, taking in some deep breaths. You want to make sure information is for your highest and best. You don't want anything else in there. And you would expect them to cover the questions you have, at least 1 or 2 of them, in at least 30 minutes, because they kind of dive a little bit deep. They're not surface level answers. So it does take a little bit of time to kind of go over what the reasoning is behind the description or the answers you're receiving. Hopefully that helps answer some of your questions. If not, put it in there if you want me to clarify a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and I just say, like, I personally, I like to receive readings. Like, anytime that someone's offering a reading, I'm like, I'm down. Let's see what Spirit has to say, Because,
I know.
I know. And it's not like recommended for, everyone. Well,
not when you're paying for it. It's not recommended because you want the most out of your money.
Yes. but I'm not like afraid to let people kind of like tap into my energy field, but I also have like a Reiki training and like a whole background of like how to cleanse and disconnect and things like that. So for me personally, whenever I go in for a reading, I don't always have questions. I try to, just because I want them, the session to be productive and, have like an actual goal. But I always kind of, the way that I tell if the reading was kind of good for me is I get like there's a certain feeling that you get whenever you have the reading. If when it sits with you, you kind of like know, like, yes, that totally resonated with me. I'm definitely gonna go see that person again, recommend them. Um, but sometimes, it doesn't click in the moment, and later on you do have that aha moment. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very different from reader to reader, and you always just kind of have to let it sink in for about a week afterwards. But on occasion, you do go in and you're just like, oh my goodness, I can feel them pulling on my aura, and all this other kind of crazy stuff happened, and it's like an immediate connection. So it's just no two readings are ever the same, even if it's done by the same person. So it's just kind of have to go with your gut.
Yeah. Well, also people don't like hearing some things, especially if it calls out some stuff that they don't want to face. They're like, I'm not
Oh,
like
people.
that. And then they sit with it for a little while and they're like, yeah, I am like that. Like, wow, okay. Because I get text messages afterwards like, you covered like 99.9%, but this one thing is like, oh, and a week later, never mind. I get it now. So yeah, I totally get it. And each reading will be different, like you're saying. Each question, each deck, each person. Everything is always different. I have no consistency in my readings whatsoever. And also, here's the other thing I want to bring up really quick. If somebody tells you what to do, run for your life. No psychic, no medium should tell you what to do. They should give you the tools and the information so you can make your own decision. Because psychics are not responsible for your karma, they're not responsible for your decisions. I don't, somebody's going to say, hey, so and so told me I needed to do this. No, 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 no. And that's how a lot of the fake psychics come out and how a lot of the fake tarot readers come out. They convince people of certain things and tell them what to do, and then they want to buy more. So it's not good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
always just use them
Anytime.
as tools.
Absolutely. If anyone's like recommending that you buy something or anything like that, I immediately get skeptical. And sometimes people are like, you just like if they're recommending a crystal or something, I am, biased towards crystals. So I usually ask people, like if you already have this, this is what you can use. But if you don't have it, any piece of clear quartz is going to do for a crystal that's recommended. You don't have to buy anything. The only time that I've ever kind of like received instruction from a psychic, it's been just a visualization, something to keep in mind. Not anything that you have to go out and, like build Rome or anything. At the end of the
No,
day, the decision is always yours of what you have to do after the session.
right. And sometimes people do come to me afterwards. And again, I am a medium, so I have a different clientele. Tarot comes in, I've got 30 plus years with tarot, but for some reason, more people come in for the psychic medium side of things. So they will ask me, do you have classes? Do you teach this?
Hmm.
Do you offer mentorships? Do you recommend such and such? When they start asking me those questions, that's when I deliver that information. I don't try to promote the
Like, if
classes
they're ready for it, you don't
if they're
ever want
ready
to force
for it, right?
them.
Right, exactly. I don't sit there and try to convince them they need my classes or a mentorship or any of that stuff. So if somebody starts off with, hey, I do this, you should come to my class and do this, there's something wrong. You need to think about what you're getting because they're trying to sell themselves to you versus give you a reading.
Yeah. Oh,
Looks
thank
like
you
we
for
got Lisa
Free
on
Love.
here. He Love 5 joined. Huh?
I was saying thank you, Free Love 5, for all the hearts.
Yeah, that's Lisa. I
Oh, hi,
invited her
Lisa.
earlier.
So, let's see. I think we had a question about the economy, when we think the economy might open again. Personally, like, I think, I know the economy has, like, obviously the brakes are, like, pumping. People are not spending as much, but there's also been, like, a shift, I think, of how people are spending and how people are making money. And so I know not everyone is able to kind of, like, adapt to the change very smoothly. So I really do feel for all of those people, and I'm just trying to send them energy and love, and offer these free readings and any kind of guidance that we can for them. But I do think that it's just we're taking a slight shift, and then once the market does kind of fully reopen again, people start to get more comfortable with going out and spending. Then I think we'll see an even bigger market, because then we'll have a lot more of an online market going. It'll be a little bit stronger there, and then we'll also have everything else reopen. So I don't see it as being too far out in the future. I think it's a matter of a couple of months, maybe a month, hopefully.
So I've
I
been
try to be
seeing that.
optimistic. Yeah.
Well, when you were reading the question, Zach, I was pulling some cards. I got the strength card. Just means that we kind of got to stick it out, kind of be strong right now, kind of tough it out in a sense. And I'm going to do this high level. I'm not going to dive deep into the cards because I know we're not going to be on here much longer. Um, Not everybody wants to face it. Not everybody wants to feel that they have to be strong through this. They want to just get out there and go do their stuff. They're just inconvenienced by it. Thank God we're not in 1918 right now because it would be a whole different mess. But we do need to kind of muster up that strength and follow what we're told. And I only say that, and I'm so not a conspiracy theorist, but at the same time, so many people are, and they're trying to promote that they're just trying to lock us up. No, they're not. They wouldn't have the essential workers out there if that was the case. We want to make sure everybody stays safe. So have the strength to stay home and common sense, I'd like to add. But also in the timeline, I got the Wheel of Fortune. I think that's going to flux. And depending on where you are in the States, I think that's just going to go up and down. But at the same time, I think that we're going to have a reoccurrence of this, unfortunately. And how it affects the economy is going to be tied into the new behaviors that we're going to have. Because this is not the first time coronavirus has come out. We've had SARS, which is part of coronavirus. These viruses come out every so many years. And because this one was so easily transferable or transmittable, that we're not going to be so comfortable handshaking and hugging, and it's just going to be a process. But I think we're going to come up on 18 months to 2 years literally to cycle around, that we're going to start opening back up. Doesn't mean the economy itself won't open. It just means us as a human, we're not going to go out in public as much, and we're not going to be communicating as much. And that also does tie into the economy, but not as drastically. People will go back to work in the next few months. They will actually go back to work sooner because our economy is going to start collapsing if it doesn't. So they're going to put people out there before we're even ready.
And just to like touch again on like the strength card, because I've been researching that one a little bit, and one of the things that I've been kind of focused on with that strength card is in the traditional Rider-Waite version, she has roses on her dress, and let me see if I can find it actually.
Oh, Mr. Traditional.
Sorry, like I have both because I like both because I do appreciate all of the layers and layers of symbolism that are in the traditional deck. However, like I said earlier, I sometimes need to be slapped in the face with the message, and my vampire deck just has such a beautiful way of doing that for me. Very
All
direct.
right, hold on real quick, because I also carry stuff in my purse.
Yes.
Hashtag
So
backpack.
so here we are. So so on this deck, you can see on the side of her dress, she's got some red flowers there. And one book that I was reading, it was saying that these flowers are roses, and the reason that there are roses on her dress is because roses are a symbol of kind of like hidden magic, hidden power. And I believe it's in the Rosicrucian order. There you go. That's what they represent in the Rosicrucian order, which is like a very long tradition of Hermetic philosophy and ritual and things like that. But the symbolism from that order was involved in the creation of the deck, it's thought. And that's why there are roses there, is because it's referring to a strength that is hidden. And it's kind of like something that's always been within you, and you just kind of have to be forced into this tough situation to pull it out of yourself. And so I think with this kind of like forced social distancing, it'll be good for our physical bodies, because it'll kind of keep our, it'll keep us protected on a physical level, but also psychologically and mentally, I think it'll kind of stimulate that inner power to connect and feel people on a deeper level, maybe with your intuitive gifts. So you can have a different experience of connecting with the people around you rather than a physical one. So I think this time is really good for people. Some people might tap into their empathic nature.
So speaking of the strength card, I've got this deck, vice versa. You can see the lion, she's opening everything up, Sunny. But it's got the backside as well. So you can see her from behind.
Oh, that's too cool.
Yeah, so what she's facing, why she needs that strength, why she needs to do everything, especially what you were talking about, is because that's what's staring her down in the face.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't see it in the front of the picture because we're looking at the front. It's behind us. We're looking in the front. I love that deck, so that's why I had to pull that forward. I'm so bad.
That is a really cool deck. I do like that one.
Yes. I've got like over 300 decks. I am closer to 350 now.
Oh my goodness.
I know, right? I got a
the
problem.
other day, and they were like, I've known, like, the best psychics I've known, they've only ever worked with one deck for their entire career. And I'm like, well, that's cool for them. I'm glad that they're so connected with that deck. I like to mix it up. Like, I'm sorry, I let symbols speak to, like, I don't know, my training, I was taught to kind of just sit back, relax, open up to spirit, and let the, kind of messages come through. And you can use anything to get your symbols. It can be smoke, it can be water, or like ink and water. It can be pictures on a postcard or a tarot card. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but I do enjoy the tarot for its broad structure. It kind of really encompasses everything.
And a fun fact, tarot is actually cartomancy.
Yes.
Yeah. And what you're talking about with the water,
all you have to do to sound
hydromancy.
fancy is, put mancy
I
at
put
the
that.
end of the Latin root for something.
I put hydromancy on my water. Yeah. Yeah, they all have fancy names. I have my cousin on here too, Isabel. Hi, Isabel. So we've done a couple people have, hi, Elisa. Thank you. So we've been on here for quite a bit. We were only going to be on here for 30 minutes. We've kind of extended it because we are very long-winded.
Yes.
Both of us. Because we all have a passion with tarot here.
Yes.
So hopefully you were able to learn something, or, if you had a question, you posted it and got your answer. Just if you did get an answer, just kind of think about what was said. It doesn't matter who you get it from. Whatever resonated with you, that's what's important. And if you do have any following questions, and I know I'm hijacking your live feed. I was going to go live with it.
No, we should have done it on yours. My feed's so new. I don't have anyone on here yet. So please like if you don't, or please like and follow if you haven't already. Lots of inspiration posted daily,
Like, follow, and share.
Yes, please.
So if anybody has any questions, we can touch on really quick with tarot. We're not diving too deep. Hopefully we didn't dive too deep accidentally. One thing I wanted to say also is, even if you don't have a tarot deck at home, like literally don't have a tarot deck, okay? You can use a plain deck of cards. You can interpret, and as an example, and I'm not going to give you the whole rundown, but if you look at the hearts are emotion and love, just like the cups would be with the water. So they're emotion, love, and things like that. You can translate them into a plain deck of cards. So if you're even curious and you can't get any Hi, Cass. If you can't go down and go get tarot cards or can't wait for them and you just want to figure it out, these tarot cards are structured very similar to a regular playing deck of cards. So you can kind of like go online and do a little research until your deck shows up. But I recommend tarot over playing deck cards.
Yeah.
We're not in the arc. We're not back in the 1500s or before where you needed to use a playing deck of cards.
Yeah.
So
Do you want
any
to draw a
messages for
card
spirit
for
with you?
Cass? Or do you want me to do it?
You can do that.
Let's see. I was shuffling. I was trying to see if something would fall out. That's what I like to see. Oh, let's see. There we go.
You doing major?
Yes, we got Major Arcana. So here we have Major number 11, and this is Justice. And let's see. So we're doing intuitive here. Okay. So this is the Justice card for my deck. This is, again, from the Vampire Tarot of Eternal Night. And so whenever I look at this card, I'm really drawn to the sword that she has pointed down into the ground. And in the tarot, swords are representative of our thoughts and kind of how we're communicating. So this is kind of suggesting that right now is time to kind of just, really anchor your thoughts into your present moment. Don't really communicate about it, just kind of sit in reflection, kind of find that internal balance within, and see if there's maybe some kind of constructive way that we can put these thoughts into reality. Maybe through just writing them down simply is honestly the first thing that comes to mind. But this can also be, drawing something. It doesn't have to be so literal as words, just some way to get your thoughts kind of down on paper or in some tangible medium so that you can feel that sense of balance, that sense of peace. That's what I'm kind of getting from this card. But I hope that answers your question.
Looks like
That was the message from Spirit today.
so. While you were talking, Zach, I'm gonna kind of complement that one with the Fool card. That's what came out for me, and it's interesting because everything that you're saying that applies to write the things down and the Fool card for me, even though it doesn't on a technical level mean new beginnings, but the Fool card as a 0 does say new beginnings, taking new steps in life. And once you write things down and get and process things and get through things in life, like literally, there's a reason why you write stuff down and burn it so it's gone. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You kind of lift it off your back. You don't carry it. It's time to take new adventures, time to take steps forward. And something's kept you held back and hasn't allowed you to press forward. And you're not in the direction that you plan on going in just yet because you haven't taken that leap of faith. I just wanted to compliment that with your card as well, because that's what popped out while you were talking. And I know it's very simple, very, high level, again, because I'm just trying to keep it short, but that's where it's at. And if that resonates, either one of ours, take it for what it is.
So you want to take the next one for Rebecca?
Well, the other one's asking for you, it looks like, Zach.
Huh?
The other one's looking, I think the other one wants you to do the reading for her too. See,
Oh, okay.
I'd love to have for
Let's see.
Beckham.
Let's see what comes out. It's easier to shuffle when I have just the Major Arcana, so not as many fly out. I try to be a message.
It's not for me. Look, they went everywhere.
They told her
I'm
no.
used to the whole thing. Huh?
So they told her no.
They did.
Let's see. Card for Becca. All right.
Oh, look, you got them all backing up for a message for you.
Let's see. So the card that I got for Becca is, this is Major Arcana number 3. So this is the Empress. And whenever we're looking at the Major Arcana, the beginning of it, there's a lot of numerology that's kind of involved in the deck, or in the cards and the symbolism around them. So 3 in numerology is the number of manifestation, creation, and fire. It's a very warm card. Now, because this is a vampire deck, this, they don't do so much with fire and, creating new life and things. So the picture on here is a little gloom, but it traditionally is a very happy card. This is definitely a card that says that you are having a lot of that kind of divine feminine energy flowing through you right now. So you're figuring out how to really take care of the things that are already around you in kind of a new way. And yeah, this is just kind of confirmation that you are making positive movement in the right direction, and you're, just at the beginning of this new path of discovery. So, yeah. So I hope that resonated with you.
Also, the 3 represents creativity, expansion, and growth in
Absolutely.
numerology.
Yeah. And you saw she was holding the wheat in her hand. Yeah.
Hmm.
Staying fertile.
Yeah, looks like you got more in there that they want.
Take let's see. That was for Becca. And let's see. And I pulled that card for Rachel earlier. Do you want to pull another card for Rachel? Now that
I can do that.
we're officially doing readings.
I can do that. Okay, so I pulled the Hermit card, and here's the thing. I don't want to read the Hermit card. The reason I don't want to read the Hermit card is because we're all stuck at home.
Yes, we're all the hermits.
So it's kind of like, to me, it doesn't hold value right now because it's going to point out a lot of the obvious. Even if you're a healthcare worker or anything like that, there's still a lot of trying to find the light, trying to get out and figure things out. So let me pull another card really quick. And this is for Rachel, you said?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And here, and I'll shuffle for Isabel while you're reading Rachel. I think that's who's next. Let me double check. Make sure we're going in order here, guys. We appreciate your patience.
Yes.
Yes, Isabel's next. Let's see. Reading regarding learning tarot myself or anything in general. Alrighty. Can focus.
All right, so that. I have Rachel. Now, so I pull in intuitively, and I'm getting the moon card for you. Got to make sure you can see it. Not sure if it's blurry on your end or not because I can't see squat on my phone.
Looks good.
Looks good? All right. For me, this card for you is a lot of balance. Trying to focus on balance, trying to even things out in your life. If you look at the water is calm. Everything around is kind of evened out. And I know, again, the moon means something totally different. But for you, it's coming across as more of a balance, learning to shift and create that balance for yourself, learning to tap into the spiritual side of yourself as well. But also, here's another thing, is kind of lean on other people for support. And I guess that's kind of strange how it's coming through with the moon card. But leaning on people and working with people. It's almost like if you want to start your own business, it kind of requires you to have other people help you out. You can't just do it by yourself. But literally learning how to balance things in life is going to help you out a lot. It feels like there hasn't been a whole lot of balance. At any given moment, something can, shift that for you. So the goal here is balance.